Hi, everyone. My name is Marcus Baker. I'm a parent advocate with Alameda County's Parent Engagement Program. My story starts back when, in July of 2019, when my daughter was removed from my custody. I was also dealing with a 19-year alcohol addiction at the time. And so when she was removed from me, that addiction presented itself from night until day. I had to figure out what I wanted to do, whether that was drink myself into a ditch because she was gone or jump into recovery head first. I did not tell my worker initially that I had an alcohol addiction because that was not the reason for removal. But I just knew that time for me to seek help because I had all these eyes on me. I tried going into outpatient programs. It didn't work. There was just too much freedom. There's liquor everywhere. And so they pulled me in and said, if you don't stop drinking, you're just not going to get your daughter back. And me being adopted myself, I knew that I needed to make sure that my daughter had both of her parents in her life because I know the feeling of being raised without mine. Even though my dad is my dad right now, there's still that emptiness of knowing who your parent is and having those questions, why didn't they want me and things like that. And I just didn't want my daughter going through that in her life as well. So I jumped headfirst into recovery. Very scary. There are people that have a worse story than I do, and I didn't know if that was possible. And so I went into inpatient for 90 days, where that's basically you go into an inpatient program with 90 other men and you do recovery. Mine was a dual diagnosis recovery program, the dual diagnosis being the mental health part of it because I was suffering from depression and anxiety, which I didn't know was a mental health disease, but that was why the alcohol was being so prevalent in my life. I then realized shortly and very quickly that I did need to be there, and so I decided to stay for the full 90 days. After that, my daughter was being transferred actually back from the foster parents' house to my dad's house due to the foster parent not wanting to foster anymore because she got really attached to my daughter. Now, my daughter's foster mom was probably the knight in shining armor throughout this whole process because what she did was she let me continue to be a parent. And what I mean by that is that she would call and have conversations with me about my daughter's food, about what she would eat, about having, how she would have hard times during sleep, just so that I could talk to her about kind of some of the ways that might help soothe a child without their parents sleeping. My daughter at the time was about to be 5 years old. So I've raised her all her life and all she knows is me. And all I knew was her. And so it was really nice for her to not let me just be absent. She let me continue being a parent, which actually ultimately helped me get through my recovery when I was feeling lonely because I actually, got to call my daughter and see her. And till this day, my daughter and her foster parent, they still talk. I'm still very close with her. I still send her all the pictures of my daughter growing and her schooling and all that good stuff, just because I feel like she was a very important person in my daughter's life because who has the heart? It takes a certain type of person to have the heart to take in a child that has gone through a traumatic experience like being removed from their family. And so I let her know that she's always going to be a part of our family and that I'll always keep her updated with, how my daughter's doing and stuff like that. I'm never going to let my daughter forget her as well. Now, after I did my 90 days in inpatient, I knew, like I said, that my daughter had to go back to my dad's house, which is her grandpa, my adopted dad. And that's where I was going to go. And so it was either my daughter go to another foster parent or my daughter go with her grandpa. And I had to make the decision of what do I do, right? Do I go on the street or what can I do? And they said, well, you can go into a sober living environment, which would be continuing my recovery. But at that time, I didn't really know. Good thing about being in recovery is that you meet a lot of people like yourself And so I did meet my recovery brothers, who I call today my recovery brothers, and we went to a SLE where I stayed there for 7 months. I stayed there, continued doing my case plan, which is basically just what CPS asks of us in order to reunify with their children. I continued doing Zoom meetings at the time with my daughter because COVID had just hit, so I couldn't do in-person visits, and that was very hard, but it made it a lot easier to um, to see her on Zoom. But at 5 years old, your attention span is not what it is as an adult like ourselves, and so it was a lot of off the screen, on the screen, off the screen, but we made it work. And so I completed all of my groups that I needed to do. I was told that I was going to be reunifying with my daughter. They did a 2-week trial, which means I went over to my dad's house and I slept the night for 2 weeks just to see how things would go. It kind of eases us back into daddy and daughter mode, and which went fine. And I reunified, and so I ended up just staying there. But during that time, I got put in the lottery for Section 8 housing in Alameda County, and I actually got picked, and that was out of like 10,000 people. And so I don't tell very many people this because they've been waiting for many years to get it. So I was very privileged to have gotten it. And soon later, me and my daughter moved out and got our own apartment, 2-bedroom, where we have our own privacy, our own space. And now I'm just back living life and being dad again full time. I have her Monday through Friday and once every weekend. But I thought it was very important throughout that whole time to let her foster parent know everything that was going on, just because of the simple fact that I feel for people, and I know how hard it is to lose a child. And so I never forgot that feeling. And even when you're a foster parent and you're giving your child, the child that you were taking care of for a year and a half, 2 years, what have it, that still hurts. And that is still going to do something to you, mentally, make you sad and things like that, to make you not want to even foster anymore. And so, in the beginning, it was hard because I seen my daughter with her and I was like, oh, she's very happy and she's very, and I thought to myself, like, maybe that's where she needs to be. Maybe, and then I was like, no, she needs to be with her dad. She needs to be with me and her mom. And that's where that needs to be. But I was very, very scared in the beginning because I didn't know if she was going to like me, she meaning the foster parent was going to like me. I didn't know if she was going to try to keep my child from me, even if I was doing everything that I was supposed to, and they said I could reunify. I didn't know if she was going to make it harder for me to reunify. It was very, very scary. And so it was very nice knowing that I was constantly talking to my foster parent about my own worries, my own struggles, my own faults, and helping her take care of my daughter as well. It was just a blessing in disguise. It was very unfortunate when a child gets removed from our custody, but it can be a life learning lesson and experience that can just change your whole life, which it's done for me. I'm now currently about to be 3 years sober here on December 17th, which is my sober date. Me and my daughter have, our own home, our own place we could say, take our shoes off and say we're home. She's currently in school and thriving, and life couldn't get any better. And of course, I'm back here as a parent advocate supporting families who've had their kids removed, because that's how powerful this whole process was for me. I needed to give back somehow. And this is the way that I give back. Thank you.